Yo, 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 what is up? Good day of basketball. We've got the Is Lauri Legit thumbnail and title. We'll talk about that a little bit. We'll go game by game. We'll do the same kind of setup we had for the previous stream. So these recap streams are going to be just basically us going through game by game and just going through, pulling up the box scores, talking about, the games. And if you guys have any questions, let us know in chat. First off, Todd, can you explain this question? Yo, yo, yo. I see the should I get Boyan for Aaron Gordon for the back-to-back. I meant for Sexton. I assume you mean the Jazz back-to-back this weekend, but I'm trying to understand what question you're asking specifically.
Yeah. And I think he means Sexton for instead of Boyan. Sexton? Should I get Boyan or Sexton? Yeah, I'm assuming Sexton. I don't know. Bowl legit. Listen, I know he's a lot of fun. Okay, he comes in and he does good things in short spurts, but I don't think it's consistent. The only thing that's going to be consistent is like a block or two a game. Yeah, he's a lot of fun, but no, I don't think unless it's like a 14 or 16 points league, then sure, because you're just going to get a lot of blocks and just upside there, I guess.
Yeah.
But he's not going to be doing this 8 for 10 stuff every night.
If you need 1 to 2 blocks in your category league, sure, play Bowl. If that's specifically what you need exactly.
Yeah.
But
it's a Sunday and you have to get these blocks in. Go for it.
Yeah, dropped Herb Jones for Ben Matt. I 100% agree. I love Herb Jones as a player, but really I feel like for fantasy purposes, you have to look at what a player does for their team outside. I mean, great defender. He's going to have solid minutes, but offensively, it's just what can he give you? Maybe he'll have these games if some of these guys miss time, but even then, I mean, Ben Matherin's just shown so much more upside. I hate Kyle Lowry with a passion. Kyle Lowry's one of those guys. There's roster cloggers everywhere, right? I can't tell people to drop Kyle Lowry, but you just don't really want to play him,
Yeah, I think
he's just probably better than who you would. Yeah, in a points league, he's probably better than whoever you would pick up to, maybe stream. Yeah, for the most part, unless your waivers are like really good. But for the most part, if it's just a random waiver guy, Kyle Lowry's probably better. But you don't want to play him. He's just like the worst guy on your bench you can't drop.
Yeah, if you're in 9-cat league though, I think you drop him. Definitely. Points league, it's interesting depending on how many teams are in your league. But even points league, it's going to be frustrating.
Yeah,
probably the whole year. But he plays in minutes, right? He's a crucial part to this team and their defensive team, their gritty team. So he does all these right things to get the time. He's just like not gonna get you a bunch of stats every.
Yeah. I don't know. Should I know I kind of talked about Boyan. I know we like to throw around the like buy low, sell high stuff, and I called him a sell high, just because I think offensively he's gonna do, and for like a fantasy perspective, he's gonna do what he did for the most part with Utah, right? It's just gonna be like, he'll get you some 15, 20 point scoring games, but not gonna give you a ton like outside of that. But do you feel like it can be consistent enough for him to be, a guy you should want to keep?
For who, sorry?
Bogdanovich, Pistons.
Yeah, I think you probably should keep him. I think he's the amount of minutes that we're seeing him get and how well he shoots it. Like I was actually pretty shocked when he came here. I was like, okay, his streak of being at 20 points per game guy is coming to an end. I don't even know if he's going to start. Boom, right out of the gate, he starts. He's just stroking it from 3. He had a really hot game. I think he's going to play a lot of minutes, especially because Bagley's out for a while, and Livers being out helps. But I think he'll always have a good amount of minutes, guys. So like in certain leagues, like we've talked about this before, you're just looking for guys that are going to be on the floor and shoot and have usage, and that's what he's going to be. If you're a smaller team, like a smaller league team, then I would start looking away from that. Like 8-team league, maybe not, but I think 10-team and beyond, I think you can go for it. I want to grab Grant's comment. Value John Wall or Mike Conley for the rest of the season. Points league, I probably go Mike Conley.
Yeah, I think so too.
And John Wall's like fun, and he'll probably score more, but I think with his role right now, what it looks like on that team, I think it's probably just going to be scoring upside mainly. We know he can pass, but I don't know how much he's going to facilitate in that offense right
Mhm.
now. Whereas Conley's putting up pretty like awesome numbers.
Yeah,
We
even
know
I
he's a
mean,
good
even if you
defender.
don't score, if he even if he doesn't score a ton, like he's been, I mean, he's like averaging like 9 assists, and like the minutes
Yeah,
are going to be there for this Jazz team, right? I mean, we can talk about Sexton a little bit. I know I see Tide's comment there. You know, what should I do with Sexton? Still worth holding or until he starts? It's so tough. I don't want to drop Sexton.
no, yeah,
Even in like shallower leagues, I really want to hold him because I believe in the upside. Um, but it's tough, right? Because I know we talked about at the beginning of the season. Oh, Clarkson could be on the move. Conley could be on the move. Realistically, trades do not happen as much as we want them to happen for fantasy. Um, and
yeah,
the Jazz, I know they lost today. It's so funny, right? This is the game the Jazz lose to depleted Rockets roster. 108, 114. We'll take a look at that. But yeah, Sexton's one of those guys who I'm holding personally because I still believe, even outside of there being trades or moves, in the talent enough for him to be better than whoever I would pick up from waivers if I was dropping.
yeah. Uh, Kyle Lowry or Anthony Simons points league. Definitely Anthony Simons. He's just going to give you so many more stats
Yeah.
consistently. He plays a ton of minutes. This is a kind of a higher scoring offense. Um, yeah, I like Simons a lot. He's not going to give you a ton other than points or scoring, but I think he's going to at least, his scoring every night is going to be a much better basis than what Kyle Lowry can give you everywhere else combined.
Yeah.
Because if Kyle Lowry is going to put up,
He'll
10 points,
dud so
three
much
boards,
more
five
too.
assists. Like, Anthony's 20-point games just cover what Kyle Lowry most likely will do. So just give me Simons on a points league. Let's see.
Yeah, I see that. Will Zion miss any games? I he's questionable, and I haven't seen any like hard report outside of just like the hip contusion and that he's questionable.
They'll
So
probably
it'll probably be like a see how he's feeling during shoot around kind of deal. So it's tough for me to give you an answer here, but we'll see.
my guess is that they're going to be annoyingly cautious with him. Like if you're a
Mm-hmm.
fantasy owner of him, it's like, oh great, they're going to rest him for 2 games, even though he's probably fine. It's just, I think you'll be all right.
Yeah.
I saw one that I was going to touch
Well,
on
I want
real.
to touch on this real quick. Should I trade Devin Booker for Sabonis and Lowry in a points league? I'm a hell no on that.
Yeah.
And we like Sabonis too. Like I think
Mm-hmm.
I think if Lowry was a
Bonus.
better name, it would be a closer trade. But man, dude, it's just I don't know how you can look at what Booker's doing, and I think he can do that. I mean, obviously not the numbers that he kind of put up the other night, but I think he can do that pretty consistently. I think he's going to have kind of like a Jason Tatum type scoring year. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, especially with that Suns offense, right? Chris Paul does not want to shoot. I don't know I mean, if anyone's been watching these games, Chris Paul, like he more often than in any previous year, he catches the ball he does not want to pull, and he
Yeah.
will at times, right? Because I mean, he's on the floor, right? But he does not want to. This is just gonna even more so run through Devin Booker. So, yeah. So it's not even like I dislike Sabonis, but I don't know how you can trade away Devin Booker for that.
Yeah. Buy low on Maxi. I mean, yes, if you can. I don't know. I don't think people should
Yeah.
be
Well,
freaking out about him
let's
at
pull
all.
up this
But
first game
yeah,
here. That's we can kind of transition here. We will pull up these box scores. So we'll start with the Sixers Pacers, and we can start with the Sixers there. So Maxi, pretty tough game, right? 8 points, 2 boards, 3 assists. Didn't shoot a ton, 3 for 11 shooting. It was a pretty it was a weird game for the Sixers, honestly. I mean, Harden was insane, 29, 9, and 11. And B did not shoot a ton this game.
yeah.
And I think the
So like
tough thing,
garbage
and this
time.
is just what's going to happen, right? We love Maxi as a breakout this season, but these games will happen, right? Where Toby has the better game, right? He's the one that shoots a better clip, shoots a little bit more, but I still expect game in, game out for it to be more in favor of Maxi from a volume perspective. So I would buy low on Maxi if you can buy him for low. Because
Yeah.
they were going pretty similar spots in points league drafts, Maxi and Harris, and I would much rather have Maxi.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, NBA. A lot of NBA is just riding the hot hand, and so like with Harris and Maxi, if Harris is just stroking it, they're gonna be feeding him a bit more.
Yeah.
So
Toby's
stuff
not
like
going to
this.
shoot 10 threes. I expect Maxi to be, let's go fuck up. Yes, sir. What's up, Thomas?
Yeah. Is Ben Simmons dead? I sure hope.
I saw
No,
that earlier and laughed at it. He
I'm gonna
fouled
be
out
honest.
again. Yeah, I don't know. You're
Yeah,
watching the end of this game.
I think apart from like the following out, I think this is like kind of what we expected a little bit from Ben Simmons. Like not going to score a lot, but he's getting some boards. He's getting assists.
Yeah,
Like
the
it's a
stats.
slow start. Yeah, it's a slow start. The following out really hurts. If he's playing full games, not following out, he can be around like a 12-5-9 guy, 12-6-8 guy. Like
Yeah.
he can be a pretty solid guy for where people drafted him, right? Because he fell so far. So I'm still not worried about it. The following out thing is just it's annoying, and if it keeps happening, it's an issue. But I
Hmm.
mean, people fall out, but like twice in 3 games is a little strange. But
Yeah.
no, I mean, what do you expect? Simmons to come out and be like a 16-7-8 guy like he was his first 2 years. Like it's going to be weird. It's going to be awkward. He's going to get acclimated. He missed basketball all of last year,
Yeah.
so hopefully comes sooner than later. But this slow start is kind of should be expected.
Yeah. Yeah, I think on the Sixers side here, just kind of getting back to this game real quick, and we'll kind of, answer questions in between talking about these games. But I mean, not much to say with Harden and Embiid, right? James Harden, I know we don't like doing this where we talk about these like top guys too much, right? Because I don't think there's a lot of actionable advice. But how many players in a points league would you rather have than James Harden?
Uh, 4.
Yeah.
I, 4,
That's
5.
where we were drafting him.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's still the top three, I think for sure. And then I mean it's probably Embiid. But I think there's a lot of guys who are kind of like closer to him that we'll talk about later today. Man, Ja's been on a tear too. But yeah, I think Harden is just like, man, if Harden was falling and you got him like end of the first and were able to like pair him with like Ja or Dame or something, like holy man, it's just that's insane that he fell that far. Would you take Ben Simmons over John Wall points league?
Yes,
Yeah,
honestly, I would.
I think there's more
I know it
upside
sounds
with
weird.
Simmons than John Wall, and two, like I know we haven't seen much of John Wall, right? But I think for me, I just think there's way more upside with Simmons, and you expect the Kawhi minutes to ramp up a little bit more. I mean, he's only playing like 24s right now, so. But yeah, I don't think there's much on the Sixers side. I know some of the secondary guys had better games. Sixers, their bench has not been great from a production standpoint. They've been one of the lowest scoring benches. A better bench game from them this game, but I don't think much actionable to talk
Good,
about.
good bench defense though. I mean, their bench
Oh yeah,
their defense is really good.
yeah,
Ben Mathurin, he struggled really heavily to start this game. I think he started out 0 for
yeah.
7.
Yeah, but I mean, he definitely picked it up towards the end. I mean, you wouldn't believe that he struggled if you kind of, were just box
Right,
score
right.
fantasy watching. But yeah, 1 for 7 from three for sure. I think the thing with Matherin too, that's like this was his first away game, I believe. I think the Pacers had, is that right? I think they had 3 straight home. I could be wrong, but still,
Sixers,
yeah, I could be wrong, whatever. But yeah, I mean, I think the nice thing for Matherin too is obviously a lot of these rookies, right? It's the secondary stats are going to be tough for these guys that score a ton. Ivy's been really great, actually. He was kind of unexpected in that realm. But I think the nice thing about Matherin is I don't care that he's not starting. As the Pacers announcers are talking about this. I don't care that he's not starting. Like he's going to play, 24, 28 minutes. And he was playing some crunch time in some earlier games too over Buddy Hield. So I think Matherin, I mean, if he's going to shoot it 16 times, he's a value, and he's already a weekly night in night out starter. So
yeah.
like Mathen a lot. Thoughts on Powell?
I actually
Norman
really
Powell.
like Powell. I know he's had a really bad start to the season, and he's kind of competing strangely with Kawhi off the bench, and minutes are kind of weird for that entire team.
Mm-hmm.
I like Powell. I think later in the season he'll end up being back to where he is. He's naturally a good fantasy producer off the bench. He's one of the few guys that comes off the bench and puts up really good stats, and we've seen him do it with Kawhi, without Kawhi, with Paul George, without Paul George. I think he'll be fine. I don't think he's a guy that you have to go buy low on, but I don't think I'd be super scared if you have him.
Yeah, I wouldn't be dropping him.
He is a fringe guy, but I
Yeah.
do like him. It's just a matter of if you want to wait for
It is kind of tough, though. I will say in fantasy basketball, more than other fantasy sports, because of the way that leagues run, you kind of have to call your shots on those fringe guys, right? It's like, am I holding this guy, or is he my like waiver wire pickup so that I can fill in those games? So I think that's kind of the toughest thing about fantasy basketball is you have to kind of call your shots. But I do like Powell, so I think if you can hold him, I would, because I like him. Right here. Someone offered me Evan Mobley for my KPJ and Kuzma. Man, I wish Mobley's had a pretty tough start, man. A lot of the second year guys have, honestly. I mean, Cade's been decent, but yeah, I don't think you can do that. I don't know. Do you? Are you thinking? I know you're a Kuz hater, so I feel like you're.
I am a Kuz hater, but I'm a KPJ lover. So I probably
and it's just no. Like it's two guys who you like are fine with like starting night in and night out, right? So I don't think Mobley's enough of an upside upgrade for me to like lose that.
Yeah, no, you'd have to definitely get someone else with Mobley because I do really like KPJ.
Yeah.
Sorry if you did answer this, but would you pick up Bojan for his back-to-back and drop Aaron Gordon? Oh. You're streaming those guys. Yeah. I mean, I like 2 games out of Bojan more than 1 game out of Aaron Gordon. If you're in,
I think Gordon's one of those like he's one of those fringe guys who like I wouldn't mind keeping if I could, but like I think if you're in a situation where you're like I need to drop somebody and Aaron Gordon's my worst guy, I would have no problem doing that.
Yeah.
A lot of the toughest thing for me is like a lot of these leagues it's tough because I don't understand like the teams and what the waiver wire looks like, but generally I am, if that's your worst guy and you're getting it back to back, I don't hate it. Anything else on the Pacers you want to talk about? Better, decent game for Buddy Hield.
Jalen
Smith. Yeah, I was going to say.
I mean, Hallie, another guy that had a slower start, not because of like poor shooting, because he was involved.
He wasn't as aggressive this game. I mean, obviously the 10 assists. He had 10 assists like pretty early. He had a double in like midway through the third. But yeah, wasn't as aggressive offensively and even just driving at all, right? You see the 7 for 11, 3 for 6. Just one trip to the line. Wasn't super aggressive. But the nice thing about Hallie, man, I know no defensive stats here, but still a solid game with no defensive stats. And I think even when he's not super aggressive, he can kind of save his fantasy games with that.
He's that dude.
He's that dude.
He's just that guy.
All right, I think we can move on here. Nick Richards for real. I love the for reals. It's so like the week 1 like legits and for reals. It's kind of what you just have to do in fantasy basketball, right? You kind of just have to see what just kind of take what you're seeing, right? And a lot of times the waiver calls that you make in the first week are pretty impactful. So I think guys like Richards and other guys we talked about in our waiver wire pickups, a lot of times those guys are worth the pickup because you already know the fringe guys on your roster, right? You already have your Beasleys or whatever who you're, maybe are like the lowest end of, your roster that you're fine moving. So I think making the move to pick up. Amrod played 30 minutes tonight. Yeah, we can go. Let's go to that one next. I'm going to go to the Knicks side. I know Hartenstein was kind of the fantasy darling, and I think he will be a 20. He can be a 20, 22-minute guy, but the minutes for Mitchell Robinson were a little scary. So it was really nice to see him play 29 and have a decent fantasy game. Obviously, 4 defensive stats is pretty crazy. So, only 14 and 6 outside of that. But I think it's nice to see. I mean, we're in the Locked On League, and I'm on the waiver wire, making my pickups for today's games, and Mitchell Robinson's there, and I picked him up and played him. So I'm happy. That's a guy who I think needs to be rostered for sure. So.
Yeah. John Wall, Ben Simmons, Jeremy Grant, rank them for points. I would go Ben Simmons, Jeremy Grant, John Wall.
Yeah, Jeremy Grant, we've kind of said our piece about Simmons and Wall and kind of the upside with Simmons. I think the thing with Jeremy Grant is even with the Pistons, right, the hope was when he went to Portland that he would give you a little more outside of just scoring. Maybe if it was defensively, which he, is a little bit, but rebounding, assists, and he's just really never going to be the stat sheet filler that a guy like Simmons can be. And when you just look at fantasy basketball, it's very, very hard for guys who just score at decent rates to be, strong fantasy starters. So I think that's when you take a Simmons, who, I know whatever the memes and the dud games, they'll happen, but I mean, night in and night out, he has way more upside to give you good rebounding, good assist games, some scoring and defensive stats. So give me the upside there. I know it might not be as popular of a pick, but I mean, I think I would definitely take that order.
Yeah.
Any other Knicks guys you want to talk about here? We've got kind of the Brunson, Randall, Barrett, 20 plus point trio that I think we'll see a lot this season, in these games where the Knicks score a decent amount. Randall with the 25 and 12.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty classic Knicks game that you can expect to see moving forward. I think if anything, Fournier and Barrett can be the most inconsistent. I think I could see those guys being flopped any night.
Yeah.
Barrett just historically can be a very inconsistent shooter. And so I could see him going, he had a ton of volume, didn't even shoot that great in general. But I mean, he could shoot 25% from the field, and then Fournier is like 8 for 10 or 8 for 12. So those are the two guys that I think are the most inconsistent that could, really fluctuate. Whereas I think Brunson and Randall are a bit more naturally efficient. And I think Randall this year, subject. I think he could be a lot better than last year. I think last year he had quite a bit of a struggle, a lot of turnovers, poorer shooting. And I think Brunson coming into this team really helps take away some, defensive attention from Randall that he saw last year. I think he was one of the most doubled players in the league last year. And so Brunson being in there obviously is going to help that, having a floor general and just being able to draw different attention away from Randall, I think is going to help him a lot this year. So I really like Randall this year.
Yeah, this start to the season's been really nice to see too. I think there's a lot of fear of, how much usage would kind of be eaten into guys like Randall. And I think it'll happen some games, but it's been pretty consistent to start, which is really nice. I want to ask you, Hartenstein, I think, is it kind of the same way that you don't want to overreact to Mitchell Robinson minutes? You don't want to overreact to Hartenstein playing 17 in this one? Is that where you're at?
Yeah, I mean, Mitchell Robinson didn't get into crazy foul trouble. He had a good game, so you keep him in. And also, he just is a very good matchup against this Magic team. This Magic team is very long.
They're long,
They're athletic. They rim run, and Mitchell Robinson is that guy that you paid to, protect and be in there with them. And so the fact that he did that without fouling is really good for Mitchell Robinson fans. And I think Hartenstein being in there, much different, right? He's also big, but like not as athletic or long. And he can stretch the floor. So he's very much different than Mitchell Robinson, but I think night in, night out, different defensive matchups, different schemes. We could see more of Hartenstein, but even still, in 18 minutes, 7 points, 9 boards, and a defensive stat, not nothing. So I'm not worried about Hartenstein.
Yeah, cool. And we can I'll throw this over. We'll go to the Magic here, and just a fun one. I want to start it out. Rank rookies points league fantasy. Rest of the season, who would you rather have?
I mean, Banchero's already shown that he can be nice with it. So I like Banchero a lot. Jaden Ivey, man. Whew, talk about, he's going to just score a little bit.
Is he the two? I mean, a pretty nice game for Jabari, too, today that we'll talk about. But
Jabari finally had a decent game. But Ivey, I mean, I think if you looked at just straight up fantasy points, Ivey's definitely up there. I think it's Banchero. We have to wait on Keegan Murray.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, if I have to make my call right now, like, I think it's possible Keegan puts up similar numbers, like from an overall fantasy production to what we're seeing from Ivy, but I'm seeing it right now from Ivy, and he's filling the stat sheet a lot more than anyone expected. I think a lot of people said, okay, Ivy can come in, he can be a 15-point guy for sure. A double with rebounds. Nobody would have thought that, and the assist numbers are really good, man. He's looked really good.
7 assists in different game.
Right, so I don't. We're turning this into a Ivy propaganda.
Here we go.
Two Pistons
fans are back at it.
But I think, and two, I think too, what you can say about Ivy compared to a Mathurin is, I mean, Mathurin, the scoring's been really, really solid, but as far as stat sheet filling, Ivy, I feel way more comfortable at him being more consistent in that realm.
Also, give me the guy that's starting. and the guy that doesn't have, Duarte checking into a game before him.
Okay. Yeah.
Mathurin's getting his own, which is to say something like already the fact that he's putting up similar points as these other
Yeah.
rookies
And he
coming off the bench.
might be better than LeBron. We don't know because they
Even
haven't
though,
played
yeah,
each other.
even though he fell down to Harden and on a step back three that he actually
Oh,
made this time.
that was pretty
But
nasty. Yeah.
but no, Matherin's situation's a little worse, and so he's been a little bit more efficient with his minutes in his situation. But just give me the guy that's starting every game. That's the Cade.
Yeah. Tough game for, I know Terrence Ross was probably like the most streamed player with the injuries the Magic had and just the games that he
Yeah,
can give you. Tough game. Is there anything else you want to talk about? I think one thing I do want to mention is it's nice to see this start from Wendell Carter, who I know a lot of people were fading from the perspective of Banchero is going to be this monster and eat into him. But I really thought it's Bamba who's kind of the odd man out, and Wendell Carter's still going to get his a little bit, and we've kind of seen that since the start of the season. So
yeah. I think Terrence Ross is the only starter on this Magic team that I don't think should be rostered in Tennessee. I don't
yeah,
like him, on a consistency basis, and I don't like
right,
him as far as what he puts up for numbers. Like it's just going to be points and threes, and it's going to be inconsistent.
yeah.
It's maybe a defensive stat. It's just category leagues, no thanks.
He's
Point
the
leagues, no
biggest
thanks.
bait too, because you'll see this big game where one of the guards is out or something, and he,
Yeah,
is playing 30 minutes. And Terrence Ross does love to shoot the ball, so there are nights where he's gonna, drop a 25 or whatever. But there's also he's gonna have nights like these, right, where he gets you 8 points. Thoughts on Aldama? I have him in Dynasty Points League, and I think I can tell how he's played decent and is so young. Yeah,
I
I
love
think
that.
I think in Dynasty it's all about what you can get, right? So it's kind of where the value is, and
I love it. I think
yeah,
in Dynasty specifically, yes, I would sell high. If you have league mates that think he's going to be something in a couple years or next
mm,
year or in the future, go ahead. I think he'll still be something with Jaren Jackson back, Dylan Brooks back. Obviously,
yeah,
I talked about this in the last video. Dylan Brooks being back knocked Conchar to the bench and kept Adama in. Jaren Jackson being back probably will get in the starting role and knock Adama to the bench, but I still think Adama on the bench will be efficient.
yeah,
But yeah, I would sell high because I don't think in a couple years, I don't think it's like
yeah.
he.
Package something and get one of these rookies. Honestly, I mean, I don't know. I know they're probably pretty highly valued, so you probably couldn't pull that off. It'd probably have to be a pretty nice package, but yeah, I
Yeah,
think I
like
agree.
I would rather I would rather have Wiseman in Dynasty League than Obama. So like if you have someone that's fed up with Wiseman and you want to play that
Wiseman
game,
plus.
yeah, I'd rather have Wiseman than Obama in Dynasty. I think
Anything? I don't know if there's much else to talk about. It's tough. So like, a Cole Anthony who's gotten a couple games to start the season with Suggs missing a game, and then obviously Markel Fultz has been out. Um, he hasn't really had like a monster game where I feel like you can like coin him as a sell high or anything. But yeah, I think we can move on to the next one if you're good.
yeah.
All right, let's go. It's going to take a minute here. We've got Raptors Heat, the classic 98-90 game that we anticipated from these two teams playing each other. Uh,
Classic 15 boards from Harrow.
right. Yeah. Everybody expected the Harrow double with rebounds. But yeah, we'll kick it off on the Raptors side here first. And
Yeah,
man, Siakam has just had such a strong start to the season, man.
yeah,
He's one of those guys who I don't have anywhere because he was going pretty high, but man, he's been really nice to start. Um, and then Van Vliet has a solid game as well, 4 for 6 from three, solid shooting game, 9 assists, pretty nice. Um,
precious revenge game.
yeah, the
Uh,
22 board, precious
yeah,
revenge game.
yeah. I do like Precious. I don't know if people are gonna be like, oh, do I add Precious? Do I add Precious? Because of this game, like no, like not just because of this game. I like him in general, but it's like Scotty Barnes being out really, really helped him. I thought maybe OG would get more looks, but like just kind of played Precious way over
Yeah,
Koloko. To see Precious play over Chris Boucher is interesting though. A guy that they've
yeah,
used a lot in rotations. So I do still think Achua is worth a
Those,
look in deeper leagues,
yeah,
but
they got in
I
some
wouldn't
foul
pick
trouble
up.
too, but yeah, I mean, obviously, foul trouble isn't going to make the 33-minute discrepancy between Precious and the other guys.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, we can go over to the Heat side here. You know, Harrow's been pretty strong. So the starter Tyler Harrow, and
Yeah. Starter Hero has been really good actually
yeah,
this season.
on another level. And yeah, it's kind. I mean, I don't think I ever expected Harrow to be a stat sheet filler. It's kind of felt like in that rotational role, he was just going to give you, a couple assists and then whatever, 14 to 20 points, but a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, if Harrow's playing 40 minutes, if he's going to play kind of like that 33, 35 Jimmy minutes, yeah, he's pretty nice.
Yeah, it helped that a team that usually has a ton of depth without a couple of suspended
Yeah,
guys, whatnot. But yeah, I mean, in a low scoring, high defensive game to put up that kind of stat is really nice. Jimmy Butler just did what Jimmy Butler does. He's going to be good, and he's just going to be good night in, night out. Bam, inconsistent as always offensively, 4 for 14.
yeah,
Again, this is a good defensive team that they're going up against, but
that's
I
true.
think this Heat turnout was kind of strangely expected, right? A good Jimmy game, inconsistent Bam game,
Yeah,
underwhelming Kyle Lowry game,
neither team
solid
over
Arrow game.
100.
Yeah, Struess 3 for 14, 0 for 8 from three really hurts. I wouldn't freak out about Struess though. I like I like the usage there. So I still like
Yeah,
Struess a lot. I know a lot of people were looking at streaming him or adding him, and so I do like Struess. He's a good rebounder, good scorer, just an off night. But yeah, Bam, I'm getting worried about. I was worried about him at the end of last year. Didn't start this year convincingly, so a little worried about him. Points league though, great, fine. I guess category league he's fine too, but
mm,
just I think where people valued him, he's
mm,
struggling.
yeah,
He helped having a really good all around game this game, but offensively, I just think he is going to be really
yeah.
consistent.
What's up, Casey? Should I drop Lowry for Jaden Ivey? Yes, and I'm not
Yes.
trying to be rude. You should have already done that. No flame though, because I definitely have Lowry on a roster, so it's okay. We can both
Yeah.
drop Lowry together tonight. Um, but yeah, I think Ivy, and I know you don't want to overreact to the first game because I do think it was the smart thing to set expectations. So I didn't even start Ivy the second game in my points league. I was very much rookies have tough starts to season. Their first game was against the Magic. So, but I think we've seen enough from Ivy where not only should he be rostered everywhere, 100%, but I think he should be started, in more leagues than not.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about PG? Honestly, two pretty underwhelming games. You just given it illustrated, you could have been that. Of course, I was just observing. Oh yeah, for sure. I think that's smart too because I will say this with the rookies, don't be surprised if you see a stretch of games from Ivy, from Bankero, where you're like, dang, like, pretty ugly stat lines. Like, they're rookies. Like, it's insane that Matherin, Ivy, Bankero have had the starts that they've had because we just don't see that from even the best rookies. Like, remember Cade last season and his start to the season. So just kind of remember that traditionally rookies have tough starts, but I got Hallie 21st pick. Oh, I love that. I took Hallie the start of the
Steal.
early second round in my in the Locked On Points League. I
Yeah.
went Ja Hallie. Oof, Ja,
Good start.
thank you,
Ja,
appreciate
yeah.
it.
Ja,
Yeah,
no problem.
Ja. How are we
No
feeling
one talking
about?
about Desmond Bain though. Desmond Bain
Yeah,
also stuff.
how are we feeling about PG? I think the thing for me is for the most part, players who are like first four rounds, I'm usually not gonna overreact. I know it feels like it should be smash spots for PG because of the Kawhi usage, but I just think you just have to believe the talent, right? I don't think PG's the kind of player that I am gonna overreact to a start that is a little underwhelming.
Yeah, I think Paul George is fine. I wouldn't react to any of these like superstars at all in the first three games.
Yeah.
He he had a 40-point game too, so it's like
Right.
you're gonna be
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. It's like overreacting both ways for both. Like these guys are they're going to have their games. They're going to shoot off in a game. Like yeah. And I mean, he's just like has so much upside elsewhere too. I mean, defensive stat, assists, whatever. Cool. We can go over to Grizzlies. Nets 134, 124 Grizzlies. And man,
Jeez, where's the defense?
Ja, yeah, Ja Morant, man, 38, 8 and 7 on pretty efficient shooting, 4 for 6 from three.
Yeah.
I mean, Josh shooting well from three in these games
Hmm.
is insane. He's just picking up right where he left off last season, and even improving on it. I mean, who I think was a question. Hey, should Ja be a first round pick in points league? I don't even think it should have been a question.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I mean the 3-point efficiency helps a lot.
Yeah,
We knew it was in his bag per se. I mean, if you watched him in
they're
college,
still
he was
leaving
not
him
like that.
open. I
Yeah,
kind of
it's
get it.
weird because he shot the three a lot in college and did it
Hmm.
fine. So it's like we knew he could pull and he would pull. He just wasn't as efficient last year in the NBA, like rookie year, then
Yep.
starting last year. But yeah, I mean, it's if that's hitting, it's just like 30 points locked. Like
Right.
he could be in this conversation for the scoring title.
Yeah, and don't I'm not. I don't know. I know people. I'm not selling Ja high or anything. I know you look at some of these games where he's had pretty efficient 3-point numbers. I mean, players pretty consistently in like third, fourth, whatever years, improve on these clips. And I think 3-point shooting is one of those. And him shooting. I mean, he's not going to put up 38 a night. Okay, so like whatever. I'm not saying that he's going to do this consistently, but I just don't know how you watch Ja and don't think that he can be a scoring title contender. He's just so good.
Yeah.
Went up against Ja, Bane, Kyrie, and Harden. Yeah, what a game from Bane too. Jeez, man, 8 for 11 from three. That's just one of those like you throw your hands up games. I mean, obviously this one 134, 124. It's tough. I got Doncic at fifth. Pretty stoked.
Ooh,
Who went fourth? I mean, it's
went
like we.
third.
Yeah, that's just true. Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, we like Harden and Embiid, but I mean, I don't know what you would look at that would make
It's like
you not want to play Luke or take Luca.
yeah, because Harden is like okay, he's done it before, but like new area. You're projecting him. You'd
Luca's
have to be like
Harden's doing what Luca does.
yeah, Harden's doing what we knew Luka would do and has been doing and is doing. Whereas anybody that you would have taken three or four is guys that you probably would have had to project to be really good and maybe be right about. But it's like who's
Yeah.
is it jokes on you?
Yeah, I
Like I
mean,
don't know.
I get like Embiid and Harden are like close, but I think the top three was pretty far and away. So, but yeah, I think on the Grizzly side, we kind of already talked about Aldama a little bit. I mean, he's a guy I think for sure. It was really nice seeing Brooks back and seeing him, still have a pretty productive game. I know Brooks had a pretty awful game, so I know people would probably point to that, but still shot the ball 13 times. I know the output was 4 points, but he was 2 for 13, 0 for 5 from three. So I still think there's a place for Aldama to be, a consistent starter, but I do
Yeah,
agree if you can, and maybe it was a dynasty league thing, but I think
yeah. The Dynasty League thing was big for me because if you
right,
have like there's two sides of that coin. I think people might see him as like a young guy that could be really good in this league. And if they like want to, you know, if you want to sell high on him and you can, I would do that instantly because I don't
yeah,
think he's going to be like this in a couple years. I think he's very short lived.
right. It just wouldn't shock you. Like I think he'll be fine, but would it shock you if Jaren Jackson comes back and he's 24 minutes? Like would that stun
Right.
you? Yeah. So
No, and it's like it's a high octane offense. So like even if a couple of years he goes somewhere else, he could just be a really good role player. So if you
right.
can trade him and someone else for like a rookie that could become a star or like a
Yeah.
fringe rookie, but do that all day.
Yeah, for sure. We can go over to the Brooklyn side. Obviously, monster games from KD and Kyrie. They just kind of did the thing that usually one of them does a night together. And Ben Simmons, I know we talked about a decent amount tonight. 7, 3 boards, 8 assists, and fouled out again. 28 minutes and get to finish this one out. Yeah, I still believe in Simmons. I don't know, would you call Simmons a buy low at kind of what he's done, in a couple of these games? Or are you just more, hey, don't just get rid of Simmons for nothing. Like we believe in the upside. I don't want to make you plant your flag because I don't think we're like that on Simmons. Like I don't think Simmons is like I need to have him on all my rosters, but I think he'll be better. And
Yeah,
I think the stat line upside is what you're getting with Simmons.
yeah. My biggest thing with him is that he just went so late in drafts, and knowing what he can do without, because everybody's just scared because like he sucks at
I mean,
shooting. He didn't
I will
play.
say you talked about going late. I'm going to pull this up because I was going to have this up for when we talked about Markkanen, but Simmons went pretty high in some of these points league drafts.
I think he
I
won.
don't know if you'd believe this, but in the Locked On Points League, Ben Simmons was sandwiched between Drew Holiday and Scotty Barnes.
What round was that?
So this was pick 43. So it's like Darius Garland, Scotty Barnes, then Ben Simmons, then Drew Holiday, Chris Paul, Julius Randle. I think he went pretty high in this stretch of leagues
Yeah, I see him more in
specifically.
like early sixth round, late
Yeah,
fifth round.
I think that's probably where he should have went. But I think the upside was like pretty. Um,
Right, right.
so, but yeah, I think I don't know if he'll be able to. I don't think he's going to be like beating what Julius Randle is doing right now anytime soon. But yeah, I will say I think he'll be better than what he's done. Why does Bear have to be so bad, getting paid so much just to do nothing? Yeah, it's so tough, man. I guess you can hang your hat from a if you're in a points league, you can kind of hang your hat on the volume is going to be there because he's shooting a ton in all these games, or at least a decent amount. But man, I don't know. He's just I
I
can't
mean,
get
he had a
excited
great
about
year
RJ
last
Barrett.
year.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, with his inconsistency and now with another person being in there offensively that could soak up a lot of the usage that he had last year.
Yeah.
It's a little strange. I think he'll be fine. I don't
Right.
think he's
I
not
don't think
good
he's going to be
defensively,
awful.
really. He's not good from the stripe normally. He's been pretty good from the stripe this year. But I think he'll be fine. I think he'll be like a 16, 17 point guy with like 6 boards, 5, 6 boards.
Yeah.
Um,
I think the gap between him and Randall is
oh yeah,
larger
oh
than
yeah,
I think people had it heading into the season.
yeah. Depending on where he went in drafts, like I think some drafts had him like pretty late, like eighth round.
Yeah,
Eighth.
format two is a big
That's
deal,
true.
obviously.
Um,
Um,
but yeah, I mean, obviously Randall's just like, way better. Neither of them are great
and even
defensively.
Brunson too.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I meant when I called that out. But cool. I think we can. Anything else you want to talk in this game? I know you've been a bigger Claxton guy as far as kind of like
Mm,
a
hmm
later stream guy. 16
Yeah,
seven. Just it's a
oh,
pretty solid game, man. Two blocks. It's
I'm not.
pretty.
Yeah, it's a great game. Like
Yeah.
even where he was going in drafts, this is still fantastic. And his first 2 games were even better.
Yeah.
He's been double and blocks. It's like he's averaging 16, 10 on the year with 3 blocks a game. That's insane value if you draft it. So
Yeah.
I still love Claxton.
Yeah. Do you think y'all think it's buy low on Brunson? Yeah, Brunson's kind of interesting. He's been pretty solid. I feel like he's you drop once he gets integrated. Yeah, I assume you're talking fantasy points wise. Yeah, I think it's so tough, right? Because you look at the numbers and you wish like he was shooting less efficient, so you could kind of like hang your hat on that because he's actually been shooting like pretty well. Um,
Yeah, I don't know who's like.
it's just not. I don't know if it's the volume that you expected when he was like as him being the guy.
Yeah, I still don't think it's like. I don't think he's in a buy low scenario.
Yeah, he's not
I
been
would think
bad, right? I mean, I feel like he's going to be 20. The assists have been really nice too, right? I mean, I think he's averaging like 7.5.
Yeah, that was the biggest question for me heading into the year is, because in Dallas he very rarely distributed, but I mean he had Luka next to him to do it for him. He was
Right.
kind of the go get a bucket guy when Luka was out. But
If you
yeah, I
think
think
the Brunson owner values him lower than like what he's produced, but I assume you're saying that you expect Brunson to be even better. So I guess to answer that question, I mean, do you think Brunson will be? It's also a great point, very efficient. I feel like the offense will start running over him. Yeah, do you think? I think this might help answer the question. I mean, Kenny, do you look at what Brunson's done in these first 3 games, and do you think he'll be significantly better? Looking at it midway in the season.
um, I mean maybe I'm delusional, but I think he's been great already. Because my
Yeah.
biggest question was the assists, and he's averaging 7.5 in the season. The
Hmm.
points will come. Like that's where I think yes he'll be better. I think he'll average closer to 19 points per
Yeah,
game.
I think he'll be
If
a
his
20,
can
yeah,
stay
20
up,
point guy.
yeah, if he can be 19 to 20 points a game, 4 or 5 rebounds, and then 7, 8 assists, like that is hard to come by in this
Yeah,
league.
I mean,
Defensive
you're
point
looking
guard,
at like a mini De'Aaron Fox. With these numbers.
more
With just like
efficient
less
De'Aaron
scoring.
Fox.
Right.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I think I think it's a
And
question of value is kind of like the tough thing. I think we're talking from like two different sides with
yeah,
the
maybe we
comment
should
here
talk
because
about
I
it.
think like buy low, like we like him a lot, but I think like the phrase buy low is tough because I wouldn't approach the Brunson manager in my league and think that they would be trying to sell him, you know, right
Low.
lower than what he's been producing.
Yes.
Um, Next up here, we'll go to the Bulls Celtics. Tough start for the Bulls, but strong finish. And shout out to Vooch, man, 18 and 23. I mean, he kind
Hmm.
of was like bullying Horford a little bit.
Yeah.
Um,
We saw Boston being one of the worst defensive teams to the 5 last year.
yeah,
And
no Time
here we go
Lord.
again. Yeah, no Time Lord. I think even with Time Lord, they're not the greatest against the 5, just
Right.
because they're so strong against everything else.
I mean, it's
But
just like who else are you going to put out there, right? It's Horford, and then I mean, a lot of
yeah,
these other
Noah
guys. I mean, we
Vonleh,
didn't see Vonleh, yeah,
Grant Williams, a little undersized. Like again,
right?
yeah,
Blake
there's a lot of
Griffin,
undersized bigs, right?
right?
Yeah, it's just all these undersized bigs that are going to get eaten alive by a 7 footer that's talented like Vooch.
Mm,
And he shot poorly, but like yeah,
yeah. Board over board. Yeah, it's crazy. God, you gentlemen look great tonight. Thank you, Renzi. Appreciate it. Do y'all play
thanks, Randy.
fantasy basketball on Sleeper? I do not. I play fantasy football on Sleeper, but I am in Yahoo and Fantrax are the two apps that I'm on.
Yep, yep, same.
Um, yeah, it's Levine, just kind of a game 19, 2 and 2, 5 for 15. Levine's really tough, man. I mean, I don't want to be like, oh, it's an awful game, whatever. But man, if he's really in knee management this year, I just would not be excited to be a Levine owner. No offense. For DeRozan, 25, 5 and 5, solid game. DeSumo has been, I mean, crazy efficient, right? 9 for 10, 4 for 4 from 3. Like, you can't expect this from DeSumo. But man, he's been playing 30 minutes, pretty consistently over the guys. Oh, I know I have there we go. Pretty consistently over kind of the other guards, right? Caruso and Dragic. Um,
Yeah, I think for me that might just be the hot hand method. He was just hitting shots, and so he probably kept him in more. I could see those minutes being closer in the future, but yeah, I mean, Jasumi was kind of the X factor in this game, which we thought was going to be a Boston W for sure, versus
yeah.
what we've seen from the Bulls in the
I mean,
past.
it started out really rough for the Bulls. I think it was like a
Yeah,
10-0 lead or something. And I was like, Bulls are
here we go again.
frauds, getting exposed again. And I mean, credit to them, man. Really good game. Y'all know how it works. I played in points league. I'm not sure I should lock in Jan's game today. So I think, explain it to me real quick. I believe Sleeper is you lock in after the games. Like you get to pick a game from it's kind of like I feel like it's like a weird format where you like lock in somebody's game that they had during the week or whatever. Explain it to me like I'm 5, so I don't.
Yeah.
So I don't. You, I feel like I know you said that's right, but I feel like Canyon doesn't understand what I said, and I also don't understand what I said. Is that true?
I have not played fantasy basketball in
Oh, okay.
I've always grown up playing it on Yahoo,
Yeah.
ESPN here and there, but
I
I've not
I
played it.
I wanted to try out Sleeper, but it felt too different from what I was used to, and it's easier to just do what you've always done. We live in a
Yeah.
world, we live in a society. Yeah, anything else you want to talk about? I think this is just another game where, it's just hard to get excited about Patrick Williams.
Yeah, I'm far gone on Patrick Williams. Actually,
Yeah,
I never was on Patrick Williams, so
right.
I don't need to talk about him at all. Yeah, both side nothing really to speak on. DeRozan had a DeRozan game, good game against the Celtics.
Yeah.
Levine was underwhelming. Thought he would be a lot better. Kind of clawed back a little bit there, but yeah, no. On the Boston side, I mean, pretty standard, right? I mean, Tatum and Brown showing up, and then Brogdon off the bench, being efficient as always. Brogdon is just Brogdon's a guy that I think everybody wishes they had Brogdon. They just got to
Yeah.
love
I
that.
just, yeah, he's one of those guys where, like, if he's going to be in this role, and I see this question here, you think Brogdon's volume is going to increase? I mean, as a rotational guy, I think he's going to be one of those guys who I think is going to need to be efficient to be strong fantasy. I don't know.
I think this is kind of what they're looking to do for the year with Brogdon. I
Yeah.
think they want that defensive identity with Marcus Smart in there. Not that Brogdon's a bad defender; he's a good defender.
Yeah,
But
just
I think that's
rotationally, right?
yeah, that spark off the bench is something that you know they were missing, except for like Pritchard here and there.
Yeah. And
I'm
I just don't think, like, I know people will be like, oh, well, why is White starting over Brogdon? And I think from a rotational standpoint, I think they just really are going to like having Brogdon kind of doing what he's starting to do.
yeah, they just having a ball handler in that second unit is big time.
Yeah.
Someone to be the floor general for them in that second, and I think that's what they like to do. I mean, obviously, barring any injury, I think Brogdon was probably the first to come in there. They got Derek White or Marcus Smart got injured.
Yeah.
Actually, they might throw in like a Grant Williams, but
Right.
yeah, no, I like Brogdon. Volume increase. I don't know. I think it stays like this for.
Yeah, I wouldn't like call my shot on it. Like, I think there's a world where it does, but I don't feel like confident about it. I do want to go to John Cena's question about the sleeper league, since we were very confused initially. So after a player plays a game, you have the choice to lock that game in. If you think that will be their best game of the week, you have to decide whether you want to lock them in before they play their next game. Once the game starts, you can't lock in that game. Okay, gotcha. So John Moran scored 60 set. Oh yeah, I mean, I would keep Ja's game tonight. I don't know if you feel differently. Like, I know Ja has like the crazy upside, but I think you just don't. You
take the 67 and you go home.
Yeah, I think, like, I just don't know if I see a world where Ja is giving you anything more than 38, 8, 7, and 2 defensive stats with only 2 turnovers.
Yeah. No, if you're like, can he do better? I would just be like,
right. And if Ja has a game that's like, if he does better, it's slightly better, right? It's
right.
He had a 44 bomb, and like, yeah, okay, there you kind of hang your hat. But like Ja, I mean, on an average basis, I think that's probably where you start. Is you go, what should this player average over the season, right? Maybe you look at previous years or whatever. For Ja, it's kind of tough. Like, I think he'll be a little bit better than when he was last year, and he had a crazy breakout last season, but I think for the most part, you feel comfortable about him beating his average by a decent amount. Significant, I would say.
Yeah, if you want to gamble on him having a career night this week, apart from, go ahead.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's going to have to be like a career night.
National Blowout Association. Yeah. It's tough. Kind of happened in the, I don't know if I want to call it out. I know we, on the props channel, the Pacers Sixers game was a little bit of a blowout at the end. Pretty close, man. I think Hallie missed by the hook. 19 and a half. Harden smashed. And then Embiid didn't really have the volume tonight, and obviously didn't stop. Sherlock and Tyrese with 46. What other games do they have this week? I think Tyrese is a more interesting question. Just because you got no defensive stats. It's a really strong game, right? 19, 10, and 6. I think it's a little bit closer for Tyrese. Would you keep this one?
Yeah, I mean, look at the matchups just to be sure here. You got
how many games you get to pick from all the rest of the games?
I'm wondering if it's for the week. Oh, I would want to maybe gamble on the Washington one. That's the other one that it could be higher scoring, bad guard defense.
Yeah. He wasn't super aggressive in this one too, and no defensive stats. Like, I'm not saying like Tyrese like always is going to get you one, but from an upside perspective, I mean, 2 defensive stats, which is totally doable, like shoots up fantasy score.
Yeah, I think at Washington or at Brooklyn could be really interesting.
Oh, Brooklyn, yeah.
Two games that could be like really high scoring. The Chicago game should be better guard defense.
Yeah. I mean, and he only played 31 minutes in this one too. And I mean, I know that's starter minutes.
I
But
don't know. I think that's one where I'm like, I'm okay with taking a little risk there. It's not even really a risk, right? Because I mean, based on what he's done this season so far, like that's
Yeah.
kind of average. That's kind of a floor almost.
And I think that's the same way we talked about the Ja one. Like if Hallie plays these games, you probably look at it, and if he doesn't beat it, he doesn't lose to it by a lot, right? I mean, he's probably going to give you 18, maybe 8 assists and 4 boards, right? And like, yeah, that's worse, but one of those games he probably has a defensive stat, and that makes up for it, you know?
Yeah.
Try to remove the run basketball against Embiid. Respectable try. Yeah. Hallie ran the court super well. I think it was like the right kind of play to kind of be a pace up spot for the Sixers. I mean, that's just kind of the way the Pacers have played already, and Hallie's really, really good at that. And I mean, I talk about Hallie not being aggressive. He was aggressive enough, I think, offensively. Obviously, the 10 assists, a lot of that was, off of him, finding the right guys and, moving the ball up the court and getting it to other shooters. But it's just so tough to look at Hallie, 3 for 6 from 3, 7 for 11 from the field. And you're just like, man, I just wish you shot more, Hallie. You're so good, man. And you got Mathurin over here, 6 for 16, 1 for 7 from 3. No flame, but a little bit of a flame. Sorry for the lock-in questions. No, I think these are interesting. I think
I like it a lot.
The format is really interesting because I think I would be really interested at looking at next year, like potentially sleeper. I don't know if it'll ever be the standard, but I think a lot of people's frustration with fantasy basketball does kind of have to do with the waiver aspect of it, because it's just, it has to be, right? The streaming.
Yeah.
So I wonder if, people would like it more if it was. But yeah, we can switch games here. We talked we're in a transition.
I'll answer real quick the last locking question. Kevin Porter's 49. I think yes, you definitely do.
Yes.
He's got some decent matchups in the rest of the week. I mean, the Suns isn't going to be a good one, but
Jazz 3 defensive stats, 10 assists, 26 points. I mean, these are like 10 boards. I mean, maybe you would get better assist numbers, but like you probably swap assists and boards for like his best game. So I think
no, this is a very safe, but like still really good play. Yeah.
Yeah, I think with this one, so on the Rockets side, there were some injuries. No Sengun, no Fernando. Gordon, Martin, Jabari Smith with probably, it's a really, really solid game.
Yeah, that's why I am keeping Jabari Smith pretty low on my rookie radars, because even without all these bigs, it's like that's the games that we're expecting almost from him, but it's still like not a lot of volume, even with no Sengun. And no Fernando. It's like 21-9-2, 3 blocks, incredible game. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But if it takes super good efficiency, and it takes 2 other bigs being out to finally have this game. And granted, it's the 4th game of the year.
And he's a rookie.
So yeah, but like to start, it's been a slow start, and I don't really like what they're doing with these big man rotations. I'm scratching my head about it. So I'm not feeling great about him. But like these are the games that like show you what he can do, and if anything makes you more frustrated, because it shows you that he's not getting more volume, and the rotational of bigs is being really weird. So I don't know, I'm lower on him than I was to start the season from a rookie standpoint. He's still obviously like a top 10 guy as far as fantasy goes, but I'm still a little frustrated.
Seem much more comfortable his first 2 games, especially the amounts of. Yeah, I think that's the thing with rookies. I've said it before. I think we are spoiled by very strong rookie performances. I think if you drafted these rookies and expected them to be like super strong fantasy producers, like Ivy's been, and I mean Banchero, I think was drafted at that point. But I think you were probably a little mistaken, but obviously you were proved right with the way that those two have played. But like I said, more often than not, rookies have stat lines that look like Jabari Smith's have to start the season, right? Even on these teams like the Rockets, right? It's not a ton of volume. It's some games with some pretty poor efficiency, some pretty low stat lines. So I think Jabari's one of those guys where right now I think people are like Banchero by a mile. Even give me Jaden Ivey. He clears Jabari in fantasy, not even close. I think by even 15, 20 games, we'll be like, okay, Jabari's kind of coming to his own a little bit. He's And he's at least probably that guy from a minutes perspective too.
Yeah.
We locking Julius Randle this game? Oh, are we talking about? Oh, are we getting these? I kind of like these lock questions.
I do too.
I think they're just kind of fun to talk about and like what you expect from these guys. I mean, 25, 12, and 4.
Yeah,
Defensive
it's
stat.
a really good
It's very
game.
strong. It's
I
so
I
interesting.
I really like the matchup in this next game though against Charlotte. If anything, it's going to be that one.
It's just
Uh,
so it's so tough because it wouldn't shock me if he
uh,
didn't outperform that this week, right?
no, but the Charlotte one is just really enticing. And I'm a kind of guy that would be just like, let's run it back.
I mean,
Uh,
25, 12, and 4
no, you take it. You
is
take it.
very good for Randall.
Wait, did he get a defensive stat? Did he get a defensive
He got
stat?
one defensive stat, Steve.
Oh, you take it. You take
Yeah,
it
I
all
think
day.
you take it. Yeah. Right. Because that's the thing, too. It's like, what? Yes, okay, you have the upside, but I just don't know if he beats it by much more unless it's like he lucks his way into like 3 steals or something, you know?
Or
Like
yeah,
that is just
it'd
kind
have
of
to be
like,
a
all
big
right.
assist game, which we know he can do. Like it would have to be like a 9 assist game with these other stats that he already had. So yeah, you're not. I guess you're
Mm-hmm.
not asking like much more. So yeah, I would just take.
Yeah. Do I pick Precious up over Dinwiddie for?
I think if Scotty Barnes comes back, maybe
Yeah.
not. I would say no if Scotty Barnes is back. I don't. He was a game time decision, so I would think that he's going to be back next game. Um, but it was nice to see him pop off in a tough matchup.
Yeah.
Against the Heat. So I
It's so
don't.
tough because like Dinwiddie isn't like super inspiring. So I think like even though I would probably value Dinwiddie higher, he's not like I don't see like a world where like he has like crazy upside.
I
But
do like
I would.
Precious though.
What was that?
I was gonna say I do like Precious in general this year to like give it more of a breakout candidate.
Yeah. Is
But
Dinwiddie
Scotty
a
Barnes
drop
going
though?
down.
I think it's so tough. I mean, for a guy who's probably just going to give you 15 points pretty consistently, like I kind of get you can find guys who can get you 10 plus points and upside elsewhere. Um,
Yeah,
it kind of depends on your situation. Like if the waiver wire has better options,
I like waiting on Dinwiddie a little bit.
I wouldn't go
Think
out of my way to drop him.
no.
If he's the worst guy on your roster and you've got a really good waiver wire pickup, then I'm fine with it. Hey, should I do this trade? I get Valanciunas, Kevin Porter Jr., and Shea. I give away Desmond Bane and Braun.
Mm-hmm. Who would you drop? Wait, yeah, who would you drop? Like, is it
I
10 teams?
assume, yeah, I mean, I assume it's negligible. Like he's probably fine dropping whatever. Like he probably has a drop that's not worth it. Should I pick up Trey Murphy for tomorrow? I think this is an easier question. I think yes, off the upside that BI and Zion are out, and we do see like a 30+ minute Trey game.
Yeah, that's true. With those injuries, I would stream Murphy for sure. Would you trade away Ja and Mobley for Harden and Scotty?
I think John Harden are like pretty close to me. I prefer Harden still, but I think we're back.
Bake.
All right, we back.
I was gonna say yeah, and if it's a points league, I think I do kind of like it. It's very close though.
Yeah.
Uh,
I don't know. Am I holding out to too much hope that Mobley could be?
no, I think Mobley can still be fine. Like
Yeah.
I really do.
Oh, and it's not even fine. I just think like the limit, the ceiling for Mobley is higher than, in my opinion, than the ceiling for Scotty.
Yeah, I mean we're still within like what, pretty much the first week of NBA.
We're 3 games in, yeah.
Yeah, what are we doing here?
I think it's close though. I like Scotty too.
Yeah.
Siakam could have had another monster game. Yeah, man. Siakam's been so nice start the season.
I mean, it's a good low scoring game, good defense.
Did we answer this trade question? I know. I see this comment here. You're robbing the dude. I think it's probably because we're lower on Val than most people, and KPJ's game today I don't think is super indicative of what I expect from him this season.
We don't think we answered really. I lean towards yes.
Yeah. I think the fact that you get 3, depending on what the All right, we are back. Should I trade CP3 and OG? If somebody values CP3 higher than what he's been producing, I'm actually fine trading him in a points league.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think I really am kind of worried about. I know we kind of had the thought heading into the season that he could, provide more scoring. I think he's still going to give you like 10 assists a game. Yeah.
Yeah, I think those are two guys. Well, maybe not for Anunoby, but Anunoby, I think it's one. I think it's a bad game. I'd hold on to. He's going to give you a ton of defensive upside. Or just good defensively. It was a bad game. If I would keep an eye on it though, if Precious is creeping into those minutes, even with Scotty back.
Yeah.
Let's
transition to this the clickbait thumbnail. I know Aaron had the comment here. Lauri not as legit after tonight's how high window gone. So crazy questions. I think that here's what I will say. Lauri 14 points, 6 boards, and an assist. Still 19 shots. He hasn't even really shot that efficiently in his monster games. And I think if Lauri's just going to be, a 30-minute, 18, 19, 20 shot guy, I think he can be legit. Let's see. We don't have this up. I think he can kind of be legit. 20 and 10. Right. And I think like that's pretty legit for where he was going in drafts. Right. So like, we'll do this question.
Oh, yeah.
So let me do this, Lauri, and I'm going to do this with some of the guys that went around him in the LOFB points league draft. Not that this is the end-all be-all of value, but you'd rather have Lauri than Sexton right now, right?
Yeah.
Would you rather have Lauri or Russell Westbrook?
Next.
Would you rather have Lauri or RJ Barrett?
Next. Wait, come on, we all know the answer to this.
All right, would you rather have Lauri or John Collins?
Lauri.
Lauri or D'Lo?
Lauri.
Lauri or Jabari Smith?
Right now, Lauri. End of the year, maybe not.
I think midseason we might say Jabari, but yeah, I think I think Lauri was kind of worth the risk, and I think he's obviously outperformed expectations, but I think even this game, right, is Lauri legit? We set up the thumbnail at the beginning of this game when he had like 2 points. He was like 1 for 5 or something, or 0 for 5 and 2 free throws, I think. Or no, it wasn't 2 free throws. 0 for 3 from the free throw line. But I think the thing with Lauri, when I say he's not going to fill the stat sheet, what's nice is, in his best opportunity, he has been kind of an 8, 6, 7, 8, 9 rebound guy. So I think he can give you, 20 and 9. The assists, are probably going to be like the 2 or 3 that we've kind of seen. I know he's had some bigger games this season, but more than enough volume, going to get some solid stats. Yeah, for sure. And I think the, guys he's playing along, like Clarkson is going to shoot a ton, right? But Conley, I think, is not going to be a super high volume guy. Hey, Tinder Hots.
Hey, I'll tell you what. I mean, if you were wondering if he wasn't feeling it tonight, it's that 0 for 3 from the line. He's like an 86% career free throw shooter. Like he can stroke it, and so 0 for 3 from the line. It's just a bad night, man. Bad night from the finisher.
Yeah, and I think Lauri. The reason the is Lauri legit becomes a conversation is because people didn't expect this from him, right? So look at Lauri's numbers and replace him with Jason Tatum. If Jason Tatum was 7 for 19, 0 for 6 from 3, would you say, he's not going to do this thing? Am I saying Lauri Markkanen's Jason Tatum? No, I'm just saying that process-wise, this is the way in fantasy you have to look at these games. Because the NBA, night in and night out, even the best shooters are going to have games where they go 0 for 6 from 3, right? Yep. So a 7 for 19 game from Lauri, obviously is pretty bad. But 14, 6, and 1 on really awful shooting. Like, I'm going to take that with the volume that he's giving you. Once those Sexton minutes limitations are over, Conley volume going to drop heavily. Yeah, I think Sexton's interesting. I think this team's really interesting long term. But, man, I'm kind of worried about Sexton.
I think even with Sexton being back, sorry to cut you off. I think even with Sexton being back, I think Conley still has a place here as long as he's on this roster, just as like a veteran ball handling floor general.
9 assists guy.
Yeah, Sexton's never been the high assist, like look make the right pass kind of guy. He's a scorer. He's a shooting guard. He's a scoring guard, really.
Right.
Um,
More like
and
Clarkson.
yeah, and same with Clarkson. So like the only true point guard they have on this roster is Mike Conley. So I think no matter how these minutes ebb and flow, I think this Jazz team, as long as they have Conley, he's going to have a place as the only like not only point guard but veteran too. He's got the experience, he's got the skill set, and he's a great defender.
Yeah.
So say what you will, I mean he'd been pretty poor in the last couple of years, like with Mitchell there and stuff. But
I'm holding
just,
Sexton for sure.
yeah,
I know we've gotten a lot of questions with the weird minutes we've seen from him, right? Obviously 15 in this one. Obviously he's not starting. I am holding him. I know it looks like when that trade happened, it was like Sexton is the future. And it's kind of looking like Lauri's the future.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I still believe in Sexton, and I think he's looked pretty good in the work he has gotten. So I do think that there is a world where, maybe it's not, oh, next week he's going to be starting in 30 minutes, but I think, there's a real world where next week he's 24 in the rotation, right? And he's playing more.
yeah,
So yeah.
yeah.
Thoughts on Giddey thinking of pulling the trigger on a trade for him? Yeah, I think trading for players who are missing a game or something. I know it's kind of like tough. You want to be like really careful with buying injured players, but yeah, I like Giddey a lot.
Yep, I like it too.
Obviously, it depends on what
And
you're trading for him.
yeah, and I mean, talk about injuries. He's next to a guy that has battled injuries a lot lately, and if SGA goes down, he assumes a lot more usage. Um, I mean, he's one of the few guys on that crowded roster that's got like the secure role in minutes. So I do like Giddy there. Should I worry about Nurkic? I'm a big Nurkic truther. I like Nurkic a lot. I would say
Yep.
no. Again, like he's just not like shooting super great. But the volume it hasn't been horrid. And he doesn't need to shoot a lot for him to be valuable, specifically in a points league. He's a great rebounder and good defensive
And
player. He's a
the
good
minutes,
passer
right?
too. Yeah, the minutes are there. I like Nurkic a lot. I think he'll be a solid guy. I mean, people you didn't really pay a premium for him depending on where he went in drafts. I don't think he went super high, so it's like it'd be nice for him to go back to having those 15 to 18 points games. But most nights he's going to be double digit
Yeah.
boards and two defensive stats and high assist upside too for a good passing big on a pretty good offensive roster. So I still like Nurkic.
Yeah. Is Ben Simmons a bum? Yes and no. I think for fantasy value, which obviously
Better
is
than all
like
of
the
us.
main, right? Which is like the what we're talking about here. I think obviously fouled out again tonight. I think there's a real world where he's a you know 8 rebound like 7 assist guy pretty consistently, or like those stat lines like he can't put those up. So I think
Yeah,
guys like that, it's really hard to like be out on for fantasy, right? Because give me that guy over a guy who's going to get you 15 points and nothing else. So thoughts on Cade for D-Book long term? I I mean I'm still in a points league straight up. You're still taking D-Book, right?
oh yeah, I didn't know if he was talking about like dynasty as in long term.
Right. I mean, if it's dynasty, I think it's a more interesting question. How old is D-Book? Do you know
Uh,
D-Book's age?
he's similar to age and as me. I think. I think he's
He's
25.
did you go to your school or
Like
something?
25. Yep, he went to my local high school actually. Thanks for asking.
25.
25. I was gonna say he was a year.
Yeah, I
No,
think
he is
yeah, 25. I think in like a dynasty league, um I wouldn't I just still think, in basketball, like different than other sports, if you guys play like dynasty, like football and stuff, like players can play very, very late. So I think D-Book can be an elite scorer for like a stretch.
Yeah, that's true. If you want to play the 10-year game, then yeah, do it.
If you're like really strong competing right now, and I don't think Cade is like that far down from D-Book, so I like get the lateral move and you get some age, but I think more consistently D-Book is going to put up superstar numbers than Cade is,
Yes.
even though I like
Yeah.
Cade a lot.
Yeah.
Precious stream worked, lol. The classic 20 board stream, you love it. Lucky I wouldn't have done it if I heard colloquial. Yeah, super weird. Um, but yeah, I mean, we'll take it. Sometimes you look out on those things.
Talent always pulls through. Talent and heart. Tell you
Talent
what,
and heart.
he's got an engine on him, man. He's an
Uh,
energizer.
Lock in Aldama's 35. So we're back on the fantasy points here. So it's a 17-4, 2 defensive stat game. 35. I wonder what the
I think he can do better.
is.
I think he can do better against. There's only 2 games left, actually.
Yeah.
Sacramento and Utah. Probably see some Keegan Murray, who's a really good defender, actually.
The tough thing for me with Aldama is I'm not stunned if he doesn't score more points than he did tonight. You know?
No. Yeah, I'm trying to think.
It's elsewhere, right?
I mean, Royce O'Neal's a good defender, too. I kind of.
Thoughts on Gobert plus Cole Anthony for Cade and Drew trade I made?
I'm saying keep it.
You're saying keep it? Yeah, I think keep it. I don't think it's as fun, but I think I probably would if I had the decision in front of me. Gobert and Cole Anthony for Cade and Drew. I like that.
Oh yeah, give me that all day.
Yeah, I mean Rudy's been pretty strong, and I think he's gonna have these like monster rebound games. But he's had I think better games than I expect from him, like season long.
Yeah, I do like Cole Anthony too, especially if Suggs is going to continue to miss there. I think Cole Anthony can be really good, but yeah, Drew. Yeah, and I think Cade can be better than Gobert.
Right. It's arguable. You arguably are getting like first and third. Yeah, potentially first and second, and the second is closer. Zara Williams Coturn can maybe hurt Santi. Yeah, too. And I think that's kind of like the sell thing too. But I think they do. I think they like Aldama. But yeah, I think it's more of a minutes eat-in thing, right? Because he's playing 32 in this one here. But I still think he can be like a 25, 26 guy.
Yeah, I still think Zaire might be a little raw, but I don't know if it's. I don't think this is the year Zaire kind of goes off. Maybe. Brogdon or Simmons pickup cat league. Probably. Are you talking about Ben Simmons? Cat league,
I assume. Because what do you think? It's Anthony Simons.
But it's Simons, yeah. So just I don't know.
Did you punt?
Yeah, that's true. What are
you punting? That matters a little bit to me, but
if you're targeting boards than Simmons, boards and defense,
Simmons just gives you a lot more if you're punting.
It's funny though because for them being the same position, they're pretty opposite in what they produce for you on the cat league, right? So Brogdon's going to give you efficiency, points, and assists, and it's going to give you rebounding, defense, and fouls. No, I think Brogdon's a safer play.
Yeah. Should I trade for Garland? I will say, like I guess the nice thing about the injury is it's not like an ankle or something that can really linger, right? When it's like anything that's like an eye thing or something in the face, right? It's not really like, oh, this is something he's going to deal with all season. I like Garland this season.
If you can get Garland and he comes back with a mask on, you won the trade.
True. I think I wouldn't mind seeing what the Garland owner would offer you.
Yeah.
Any good buy low points league suggestions? Buy low.
Let
me pull up ADP.
Let's see. Who's been struggling off my head? Maybe Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine could be an interesting buy low.
Zach LaVine is a buy low. I think if you could get him real low with an owner who's like really afraid of him resting a lot of back-to-backs, this like the injury management thing. I think Cat's pretty interesting. I mean, a better game. Well, I guess we can pull up this game. We haven't had this one up. Cat better game tonight, 27-11. I think Cat will probably be somewhere in the middle of what he did tonight and what he's been doing, but I still think he can be like a 22 point guy and still get you 9-10 boards. Obviously a real tough Anthony Edwards game, but the volume was still there.
Yeah.
3 for 15. How about Anthony Edwards in these strong rebounding games? We kind of talked about that, man. That was like our big thing with Ant is he just couldn't fill the stat sheet elsewhere. But
As a buy low or just in general, you're talking about these games.
I was just talking about the games in general. I don't think you can buy low on Ant unless I don't think people overreact to one game as much. So
no, I do love that. I mean, we talked about that like months ago, right? We're talking about how if Ant, like, for Ant to take a leap in fantasy, it's got to be filling out something other than scoring. He can do all the scoring he wants. He's not gonna the game changer in fantasy. But yeah, if he's putting up these boards, we saw him putting up some good assist numbers.
Yeah. I think Evan Mobley, I see the shout out. What's up, Marky? Evan Mobley buy low. Yeah, I think Evan Mobley's one of those guys who, like, I think his floor is going to be better than what he's done. So if the Evan Mobley is like, the Evan Mobley manager is like, reach for this guy, like, give me somebody who's like producing better. I would definitely do that because I think should be better than what he's been. And I think the upside is still astronomical for a guy like Mobley.
Yep.
I think obviously like Donovan Mitchell's been amazing and he's still going to be a usage monster. So I think the ceiling for Mobley is a little capped with like what he can be offensively, but I still think he can be way better than what he's been.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of others the top of the head.
I see Russ. Russ is really tough for me because, man, I feel like the floor for Russ is like, I don't want to play him ever. But I do think he can have the kind of games that he had earlier, right? Where he just like has these blow up games. So it depends on the price. Like I don't, it's not like I don't want to own Russ anywhere, but.
What about Sexton?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think the thing with buy lows, which is tough in fantasy, is it usually means you have to hold a player or something. But I think Sexton can be better.
Yeah.
Sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
CP and OG for Ant Mobley, I would do that in a heartbeat. I like that a lot. Other guy wanted a little more. Yeah, I would assumed. I hate RG, but he's buy low points. Yeah, the volume is just going to be there. So, I mean, he hasn't been, like, abysmal, right? Like, he hasn't been, like, awful.
Fox or Ants rest of season? That's a tough one. I'm a big Fox guy. I think I like Fox still more.
Yeah, usually, and I will say when you guys are asking questions, we'll usually assume points because that's kind of like
a little more common.
Yeah, I think.
I don't know actually.
I know a lot of people play Cat, but I assume there's just like a little more that goes into category leagues than. I'd probably go Ant. I love the volume, man. Even in a bad game tonight, 15 shots, man. 1 for 8 from 3. Like, Ant will be better than this.
I hate RJ, but he's by low points. Yeah, you could maybe. He had a bad game. He had a decent game today. I think the game that he had today is pretty telling of what he'll be.
That's the thing. Like, maybe buy low after the other game where he was just awful. But I think after this game today, like right here, we'll pull up his stat line. Like, I think this is kind of what RJ's going to be. Like, I think he's going to be 20 points, not a ton elsewhere. And you just hope that he has good efficiency shooting. Do you think Mathurin is going to keep putting up high points league? I do. And I think the thing for me is it's the volume. So I think the biggest thing is, I know rookies, they're hard to count on. But I think you look at Mathurin, and even in a bad game, I mean, he still shot 16 times, 1 for 7 from 3. Got to the line for 2 trips in 24 minutes. So, like, you take a look at that, and you're like, man, this guy, you've got Mathurin at 28 minutes consistently. Like, he's going to be putting up a ton. Mathurin, Mathurin was, I really like grabbing Mathurin late. Yeah. I mean, I'm really a believer in the talent. Rookies are tough because I think you just have to assume they're going to be worse than what you expect their careers to be. But he's been pretty good. We stashing Bol? No. And I just don't see a world where he plays more than 20 minutes, and I can't stash a guy that just doesn't have that upside.
Yeah, no, I'm not big on Bobo. Like we said earlier, like if you need a block on a Sunday before your league is over, like sure, pick him up for a block. That's about it.
Yeah. We think Sadiq Bey legit. I think Sadiq Bey will.
He's been legit.
He's been legit, but I will say from like a fantasy perspective, just like an outsider, he's gonna have these games, and he's also gonna have games that he had like the ones earlier in the season, right, where he doesn't shoot a ton or doesn't shoot great from three. So it's just kind of it's going to be pretty hit or miss. But yeah, I think these blow up games will exist because that's just what happens, right? With these high volume 3-point shooters, like look at Bogdanovich. I think you'll see those guys have these games a lot. So legit is tough, right? Like yes, he's legit, but he's not going to do what he did like consistently. And I think that's pretty obvious. Like that's just going to happen in the NBA.
Yeah.
Any last questions? I know we didn't talk a ton. I guess we'll finish up here with the Spurs because we talked about the Wolves a little bit. Spurs 3-1 right now. Everybody told the Spurs and Jazz that they were tanking except for the players. Man, 3-1. You like that?
Good bounce back from that blowout to the little LaMelo-less Hornets.
Right, the beginning of the season.
It's like they have a good coach or something.
Right.
No, but Devin Vassell, I mean, having a hell of a year. Like,
yeah,
this is what, people were really excited for him when he got drafted there out of Florida State. He was a good player, but holy cow, he's getting a lot of volume. And he's
the volume, man. It's so nice, too. And, like, I mean, this is a DeJounte Murray game from last season, 23, 9, and 7.
Yeah,
that's crazy. Defensive stat as well. Trey Jones, man. I just, it's kind of what I was worried about with Trey is that, I mean, really, really strong game. So I know it sounds like I'm like ragging on this game. I mean, 8, 7, and 8 with 3 defensive stats. I mean, that's a really strong fantasy game. But I do think that he will have these games where he gets you 10 or less points. And, the rebounds probably aren't going to be at 7 for a guy like Trey. But I still think he's got a pretty decent floor because I think as like the 30-minute point guard for this team, I think he'll have enough usage to consistently get you 7, 8 assists, which is what he's done without Murray. So I still like Trey. I know he was a popular, reach, late, mid to late round reach pick. I still like Trey Jones, but yeah, pretty good game.
Yeah, I mean, if Vassell's going to shoot the way he's shooting and Keldon, Hurdle, I think he'll be pushing 7, 8 assists consistently.
Yeah.
And then he should be around 10 to 14 points. Defensively, he's going to give you something. So I love Trey Hill.
Mm-hmm. Should I be looking to sell Jimmy Butler? I think when we talk about like buying and selling players, it's always for whatever value you can get for him. So I think if you can, you take these guys who had strong games and are able to kind of flip them for players we like long-term who maybe had a worse shooting game or what have you. I think I'm down to do that because I mean Jimmy, he went around Donovan Mitchell, DeRozan in points leagues. I've got Shea, Beal.
Yeah, I mean I think Jimmy is going to be exactly what he's been these first 4 games.
Would you trade Jimmy for Ant straight up?
Oh no, like I want Jimmy. I'm not kidding.
Okay.
Personally, I think Ant scores a lot more, but I think Jimmy's can get way more defensive upside and consistently get you more rebounds and assists.
Yeah.
So I love Jimmy, and specifically the points league. I like Jimmy. I like him in 9-cat too, but I think Jimmy's got a really high floor and feels pretty safe as long as he's healthy. So.
Right, and that's kind of the kicker too with Jimmy, obviously. But yeah, I think it's. I wouldn't be looking to sell him. I don't think he's a sell candidate. No, I think what he did tonight against a strong defensive team is kind of what you expect from Jimmy.
Yeah, you should feel pretty good about having him, I think.
Yeah. Enjoy. I feel like both tanking teams have such great coaching that lack of tactics and teams health squads keep losing them until they get the chemistry going. Yeah, I like a lot of the players too on like the tanking teams, right? I mean, like Conley, Clarkson. I mean, Markkanen's played really, really well, right? Utah was kind of a popular tanking team. Olynyk too. I mean, say what you will. I mean, he's just been a solid player for every team he's been on, and I think he's going to do that for the Jazz too. and the Spurs, right? I mean, I know you take Murray out of the equation and you just feel like they're just a bunch of puppies, but they got that dog, man. I like a lot of these guys. Pirtle, Johnson, Vassell, Trey Jones.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a classic Spurs team. It's a lot of smart, safe players. Just no one like superstar-y, but it's like a lot of people that just know their role and do it well.
Yeah, and also it's the NBA, right? So, I mean, you get Anthony Edwards shooting 3 for 15, and I mean, I think the Timberwolves play the Spurs tomorrow. I think they beat them, but
yeah,
2022 Olenek equals Bubble AD. Okay,
yeah.
I like that. All right, any last questions? I know we didn't spend a ton of time on Lauri. We talked about him a little bit. I think he's in between what he's been and what he did tonight, which is going to still be high volume. And I think you take those guys. So I'm not, I mean, obviously if you can sell Lauri high off of what he did the first 3 games of the season, I think you do that obviously. But with all that being said, I think I still value him like a round or 2 higher than he was being drafted at least. And I think it's hard to argue that the volume isn't going to be there for him. Osman worth a roster spot after I streamed for Sunday. So it's always going to be an argument of like who else you can pick up in replace of him. Like for example, I like was able to pick up Mitchell Robinson. He was dropped in a league with some like weird minute stuff. So like there's some guys who like are going to be better than your worst roster spot. He feels more like if I have to categorize him, he feels like a streamer, especially long term with like the Cavs getting guys back. Are you in the same boat?
Yeah, I think he's a streamer at best. I don't think he's worth a full roster spot.
Right. Like I wouldn't hold on to him and not play somebody. Like I would be looking to stream and drop him if he was my worst player.
Yeah, he's shooting like really efficiently, and he's still like 16 points and nothing right. else. So I mean, he's best case scenario right now, and it's still like okay, it's good. But for a streamer, it's good. But it's like it's not worth a roster spot to me.
Yeah. This question about Lauri, who should I look to trade Lauri for? I think is really tough because I don't think people are gonna buy Lauri for where I value him. So that's always a thing. I know people get cute about buy lows and sell high, but like let's be real. Everybody understands that. Everybody knows Lauri's producing better than what they expected. So everybody who's like looking to acquire him is gonna know that like his price is probably higher than it should be. So I don't think that like I know some people kind of do this thing. Like I'd rather have Lauri than Sengun, who win a lot higher than him, you know, in most drafts. As like a popular sleeper guy. I'm trying to look at other names.
Yeah, I mean, and at the same time too, like sure, there's times you want to sell high, but in the case for like Lauri Markkanen, assuming you didn't spend a ton of draft capital on him, this is a guy that you could just sit there and benefit from him popping off and being at the sell high point because I think he will be like this good for a little bit still. I don't think this is like anything that's going to change in the near future. So it's not like you have to panic and get rid of him now. I think you can just sit there and enjoy the production and the volume that he's getting. Whereas there's other people that, you know, might have popped off for 2 nights in a row that I would think, okay, this usage is coming down because of this situation or this or this or this. Whereas Markkanen for me is like he should be pretty set in stone to see this kind of volume or even close to it for a while.
Yeah, and I think the thing is you're not going to be able to sell Lauri for the price of what he's going to produce for you, which I know we kind of talked with there. So I think like that's where the hold is like what Lauri's producing for you. You're not going to be able to go to somebody and get a top 50 player who's done what Lauri's doing right now consistently. So like if you're going to be able to get like a 20 shot guy who's putting up the numbers that Lauri is, go for it. But yeah. Pick up Precious or is it bait? I know you like Precious more than me.
It's a little bait.
I mean, I think it's one of those where like I wouldn't drop somebody I like was planning on rostering long term for him, but
yeah, if you're like streaming someone like a Jetty Osman or a Dasoon move or I don't even I would if there's someone that like clearly you could just bench or take out wow, drop and no one will pick him up or anything, then sure, I think this is kind of the window for Precious if Scotty Barnes is out where he could be pretty productive for you. Then yeah, I don't hate it. I think it's bait long term, definitely.
Mm.
Thought Horford if dropped, I'd pick him up personally. Yeah, if Horford's on the waiver wire, I would grab
Yeah.
him.
Yeah, I like Horford. Try to get Rozier. Yeah, I would do that. I'd take Rozier over Lauri.
Oh yeah.
You could probably maybe position that as like the Rozier manager who's like, LaMelo's gonna come back, like he's gonna not be, it's good, whatever. Yeah, I would do that. Any idea on LaMelo's going to start the season? You guys think his ankle become a problem further into the season? It's always tough with those kind of injury things, like projecting and predicting that kind of thing. I think with NBA injuries, as far as like trading is concerned, you always want to err on the side of like the not injured, right? So I wouldn't be like looking to buy LaMelo because no one's going to sell you LaMelo who's had him on the roster for lower than the first round price, which is what he was being drafted at. So
yeah.
Ben looks bad. Should we be worried? Hopefully you didn't draft Ben Simmons high enough to where you're in a spot where you're like really, really worried. But yeah, I think he's going to be better, and I think he's a stat sheet filler. We've talked about Ben a little bit today. I think he's a stat sheet filler, and I think he's going to be better than what he has been, right?
Yep.
And he's kind of already shown it, right? He's already had some 6 assists, 8 board games. So I'm scared. Yeah, I think, but here's the thing, I think actionable, he's just a hold, right? I wouldn't sell him for what your league is going to value him at, and I wouldn't drop him for anyone that's going to be on waivers. And yeah, I wouldn't actively look to acquire him, but I think he's just kind of a hold. All right, I have a chance to pick up a Linux and Nick Richards. I can drop Bam. I would not drop Bam or PJ or Clarkson or CP3. Is that PJ Washington, I assume? Because if it's PJ Tucker, he shouldn't be on your roster. So I assume it's PJ Washington or Clarkson or CP3. I don't think I would.
Go ahead.
I wouldn't pick up. I would keep. I think I would keep all those guys.
Yeah, I think I would keep them all too.
Yeah,
I think Nick Richard, he's fine for now. I don't like him long term. I think at some point.
Yeah, and it's just the upside. It's hard to argue is higher than all the other guys.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And the risk is way greater.
PJ's way more set in stone for the year than Richard and.
Yeah. All right. I think that's it for us. Unless if you have any parting words.
No, nothing for you guys.
Nothing. That's it. Just close it out there. Nothing nice. Yeah. Appreciate you guys watching.
Oh yeah. Appreciate you guys watching. Make sure to subscribe. Yeah. Check out the Fantasy Betting Flock channel if you guys like doing player props for the NBA. We stream on there throughout the week. If for some reason you haven't, check out Fantasy Football Flock. And yeah, I think that's all I got.
Wait, you're supposed to talk for one more minute while I pull up the link to the fantasy sports betting channel.
Okay, Pistons are going to win tomorrow against Washington. Jaden Ivey goes for 20 plus, little less rebounds or assists. Cade gets efficiency back. Weaker game out of Sadiq Bey though, but Pistons edge out.
All right, too much. I'm gonna cut you off there. It's too much Pistons airtime. I just posted the link to the fantasy sports betting channel. We go through underdog props. If you guys aren't on underdog, you can use code Canyon right there. The link is in the description as well to sign up. 100% deposit match up to $100, $10 deposit minimum. Underdog's really cool. I don't know if you guys are familiar. Basically, it's a lot of player props, and you can also do some drafts. So we were doing some best ball drafts before the season for the NBA. But, versus DFS, right, where you've got salary cap. I really like Underdog because I get to pick specific player props. And you're not playing against other people and these guys that are putting in, 500 lineups because they have all day to crunch the numbers of, the different numbers. So I like Underdog player props. WStream, I appreciate it. Thank you guys for hanging out. Much love. We're looking to do these streams probably every other night, every 2 or 3 nights they'll be on this channel. But we put the link to the Fantasy Sports Betting channel in the chats. And we do those streams typically somewhere between 4 p.m. Eastern time, usually 2 p.m. Eastern time. I think that's all the talking I've got in me. Appreciate the W's in the chat. You guys rock.
More freaking W's.
Make sure you make your waiver claims tonight.
Yep.
Harden falling in the second round, like all my leagues feels, dude, it's crazy. Harden falling outside the top 7 picks is insane to me. But hey, we'll take it. Good night. Hey, sleep tight, guys. Was that too much? Is that weird? Nah, sleep tight.
Well, you don't know. It could be the morning for them, dude.
Yeah, sure.
Have a good day. Have a good day at work today, guys.
Well, we got a good night in chat, so.
Yeah.
All right, good night. Good night, TinderHot.xyz.
Yeah. Good night, TinderHot. Thanks for popping in, TinderHot. Appreciate you as always.
Appreciate the love. Appreciate the love emojis.
The late night love. Oh, thank you. Gosh, I miss you.
All right.
Get the heck out of here.
The thumbs up at the end feels like it's a real person.
Like,
yeah, we got you.
Weird, but I'm human.
Sweet dreams you had today. I appreciate it. Tinder, how do you go good? True. Honestly, true. Actually, no, I feel like I have to say
Hey, yo. No. I don't know.
All right. Peace out. See you guys.